Hamza from the Attar store coming up next.
Hey buddy, how you going?
Hi, how are you, Matt?
Yeah, very good, thank you. All good. Hope you've enjoyed everything so far.
Yeah, it's been okay. I've been following it. I was in the gym earlier, so I was watching from there as well. So keeping it
I feel exhausted just hearing that, to be honest with you, mate. The gym, crikey. So basically, I'd like to try and find out a little bit more about the Attar store for everybody.
Okay.
So if you could just give us a little bit of a background and let us know how you came to be.
So I mean, I've always been around since I was 8 or 9 years old. So I've always been around Attars and Western perfumes as well. One of the sort of main difficulties in Scotland was really getting a hold of oud and Attar, sort of in bulk. The higher quality kind of things. So it was quite easier to get into the Western scene, with the big brands likes of Creed, Dior, Chanel, Penhaligon's, and obviously the niche houses as well. But there's nothing much for the Eastern market, especially in the UK, apart from maybe Arabian oud. So I decided to, once I came across Oud, I was already doing my own thing. So I decided to do something similar, something with a bit of artisanal touch, not mass-produced bulk oils. So I got in touch with the correct people when I, set off on that path to try and do my own thing. So part of that is incense, getting incense sticks manufactured and introducing people into burning wood, because it's a tradition that's mostly died out. It's not something, even in the sort of Indo-subcontinent families, it's a tradition that's sort of died off. Now people are more into their candles, they're not really into incense. So it's trying to sort of push people back onto that traditional path. And of course, you've got people from Arabic backgrounds that are doing something similar there. And with myself being obviously Pakistani, I'm trying to push that to my own people, push them towards, okay, this is oud, but there's something a bit higher, there's top-notch stuff that is available as well. Because we're seeing a lot of people move towards Western perfumes. And while they can be great, it's sometimes you can still pull off the same goals and objectives with Eastern perfumery. You can still wear that kind of thing to work. You can wear that to events. You can still wear it as a crowd pleaser. So I think one thing I've been trying to do is really expand on that and really try to push pure oud out there to convince people that it's worth them parting with their money. If they can spend 3 figures, 4 figures on Western perfumes, they can do the same with this. And it's something that has that signature twist. It's not mass produced. It's something that's small batch, small quantity.
Well, having tried some of your work earlier today, I must say straight away and straight off the bat, it's really, really impressive stuff. So what I'd like to do at just briefly go through some of the oils and get your take on them. There's one that really sort of jumped out at me, which is the Cambodia Cola. So if you want to tell us a bit more about this little beauty.
The Cambodia one. So the Cambodia it's a 2019 distillation from a copper pot. It's made from vintage dust. I don't know how old the dust is. It's wild. And recently I was offered by somebody based in Singapore, I was offered a batch. So there's a successor coming to it. It's a little bit similar.
Oh, okay.
It was a small batch that was offered, and obviously upon getting it, I noticed it had a sort of cola-like, the caramel color that cola has, something like Pepsi, something like Coke. So that's where the sort of cola came, and there's sort of cola-like notes. There's of course dark fruits, there's berries, this is syrupy, kind of something a bit like molasses, and there's of course some just slightly. I think some of the top notes are like cola. So it is quite a new distillation. It isn't very old, but it has got an aged-like consistency to it. It is quite a thick oil. It's been a hit so far. I think we're almost sold out. I've only got 1 gram left from what was a small batch of it.
Well, I've managed to swipe a bit. So what I'm going to take that with me, and what I'm going to do is obviously give it a full wearing, because I've only had it on skin for a little while today, and I'd like to spend a bit more time with it, because from the opening you could sense that it's going to develop. It's going to take you on more of a journey than I actually unfortunately had time to explore today. So I'm really, really looking forward to that one. And I thought I went through a few, and the name of that one just leapt out, because it's not a word that cola is not a word that I would have associated with a traditional oil kind of thing. So I think it was certainly well named. I mean, how many oils do you tend to work on at a time? Is it something that you've always got a couple on the go, or?
So mostly I started off with wood quite a lot. It was quite difficult to get into the oil. So recently I've been focusing on oil. I think I've got about 3 or 4 at the moment. I've got a couple more on the way,
Right.
and I think we're commissioning a distillation within the next week or so as well, made from Sarawak woods. So it's really what comes and goes, what's available. Of course, this is something that's a bit more rarer, so it's just when the opportunity comes, somebody's got vintage stock or somebody's got a vintage oil. With newer oils that are distilled maybe within the past few months, you can get them quite quickly, and a lot of the vendors will know it's quite easy to commission distillations. But if you're looking for a gem or a quality oil, it is a lot more difficult, especially Cambodia. Nowadays, you don't really see much wild Cambodia. Most of it tends to be organic, so this was quite rare. And as I said, we've got the successor coming, which I think I'm going to call Cambodia Tobacco.
All right.
A tobacco-like note to it. So that should be dropping within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So hopefully that should be on its way soon.
So obviously, this is a really testing time for any industry with the COVID restrictions and stuff like that. But traditionally, before when travel was easy, did you get out into the field very much, or?
No, I haven't personally been out to the fields. I'm quite a new vendor, so the most sort of the field I've had is really the Indian subcontinent, just seeing what was available there in sort of traditional stores, and of course been out to the Gulf. But I haven't been to East Asia yet.
Right.
I'm hoping to perhaps visit Taiwan next year, if all goes well with that.
Yeah, it's just I think making any kind of long-term plans at the moment it's almost impossible, isn't it? We don't really know what's going on. So do you think this is going to, just the restrictions we're having, is that going to have a knock-on effect, do you think, in terms of sourcing materials and?
Yeah, it already has, because a lot of the vendors we work with, obviously, for example, some of the distillers in Malaysia and so on, they obviously had local restrictions there, so it's preventing them from travel. It's obviously stopping, I had a batch of wood that I ordered in April and it didn't come till the end of July. Wow. So it's really slowing things down locally, and a lot of the traders out there aren't able to, of course, travel. So the ones that we have, traditionally the middlemen, aren't able to go meet the hunters or able to go meet the people that they buy their stock from. So things have slowed down quite a lot. I used to get batches offered, every few days. Now that's maybe once or twice a week, maybe a fortnight.
Must be putting more pressure on you to make snap decisions about what you're gonna get.
Purchasing, yeah, with regards to cash flow as well. Sometimes it's more difficult to find what we're looking for. So you're finding that almost paying a little bit more than what we'd like to pay usually. So things are a little bit more difficult, and we're obviously faced with the decision that sometimes things are selling a lot and you're almost looking like there's no stock left. And then we can obviously have a backlog of stock, which we do at the moment with a lot of woods, so a lot of high quality woods. So, things are a little strange. You can find some things moving faster than others. So it's quite difficult to predict what demand will look like.
With regards, sorry, I'm going to go back to another one of your oils, the Tonga Rose. I was particularly impressed with that as well. The rose note in that is quite delightful. How did this one come about? Was it just an idea you had, or?
So I had some Tongan rose oil. It was quite a high quality oil from my birth year, actually, 1999. I sourced it from Taiwan. So I had some of that left over, and I thought, I'm trying to move towards Attars. So oud can be quite a strong note. It's not something that's very feminine or something that's easily pulled off by a lot of people. So and that's one of the lures of Western perfumery or the bigger brands, is that it's very widely accepted, the notes. So I was trying to pull something off similar to that. The Tongan sandalwood is quite neutral. It's quite a bland sandalwood. It doesn't have a very strong aroma. So the rose oil is something rose is used universally in everything. So I thought if I can mix that into sandalwood and add some ambergris as a sort of fixative to make it last longer and give it that performance, because we don't see real ambergris used anymore. So I think I'm one of the main ambergris suppliers on the forum, and it's Scottish ambergris as well. So most ambergris used in France is they're using synthetics nowadays. Most of the real ambergris is taken by the Arab market. So it's quite rare to actually have ambergris being used in perfumery now. It has died down quite a lot with the invention of the likes of ambroxan, which is obviously a compound that's used synthetically. So it's really just, I think, 3 basic ingredients. So I think it has received some good reviews. So I think I'm going to create a larger batch of it when I can.
I think it's also one that, a lot of oils, it's a difficult one to generalize, but it seems to me to be quite a feminine leaning oil, which I think it's it's nice to see. It certainly gives you as a vendor more options, because it's certainly one that, for example, my wife would adore, and she's not very keen on sort of oils in general, to be honest. And in my findings, obviously maybe slightly different with some of the more sort of more commonly used attars, but generally speaking, I find that it's more males that I speak to that are interested in this kind of world. So it may, was it a conscious effort to make something that may appeal
Yeah,
to more
it is definitely, because if you're wanting to work with mainstream influencers, mostly tend to be female, you can't really be giving them stuff that's very strong and very masculine. If they're going to promote this and wear it themselves and promote it to their audience, it needs to be something that they could wear on a day-to-day basis. It's not something that they're just trying and being paid to promote. It's something that they themselves would genuinely recommend and can wear themselves. So, of course, to get that right and to be able to actually make sure it's approved by them. So yeah, it is more leaning towards the feminine side, and that is a conscious decision to try and increase that range.
I think that, the decision that you made there with this particular oil is a good one, because it works well, and he's certainly if that's the objective that you set out with, you've achieved it. So that must give you a sort of sense of satisfaction for sure.
It does, yeah. Seeing yourself in the Deems reviews, because it was just a small batch lying. So the name isn't decided yet, but I thought maybe we'll see what their thoughts are. It has just been aging away slowly. I've only swiped it once myself. It's just been sitting there for like 3 to 4 months now, mixing a bit. So I'm waiting on the ambergris to really dissolve within the sandalwood oil. It's still sort of a lump, so hopefully it will start to dissolve more and more. And then I'll commission perhaps a larger batch of it when the time's right.
Have you ever gone into the sort of spray perfume world, or?
It's a line that I'm looking at. I'm trying to garner some investment as well. It is a big investment if you do want to head down that route. It's obviously available, but there's a lot of red tape, a lot of regulation. It's becoming a bit of a trend. We've seen a couple of brands, quite well-known vendors, go down that route. So I think all of the vendors on the forum might be looking at that. I think everybody is attracted to that, but it's one thing to do and then one thing to really market it and push it. It depends what kind of market you're looking at, whether you're looking at our traditional base or you're trying to move into the mainstream market. But it is something that I'm exploring.
I think because the risk is you obviously spend a lot of time and build a nice and a respected reputation for doing this. And whenever you're adding to it, are you looking to is it a diffusion range, or are you diluting your base by this diversification? I don't know. It's a difficult one to work out, but it'll be interesting to see how you approach it with going forward.
Definitely. I mean, even with candles, I've tried to approach the subject. I mean, candles are quite widely produced and they use the same sort of oils, but to actually find somebody that will be willing to sit down with you and use your own oils is a rarer thing. Same with the scents. You can find a scent library. You can work with these companies that have their own compounds and their own aromas, but they won't take your own stuff. That's a different story altogether. So it's the option if you want to sort of sell out and just use mass-produced materials, but I think that goes against my ethos of using locally or small batch items, because there's a sense of rarity there. Somebody's owning something that there's only maybe they're one of 10 people, one of 20 people to have that. And when you're wearing something that's mass produced, something that we've seen with some of these Western brands at first, you might be the only person in your friend group to own that, and then suddenly everybody has it. So I think that's the thing I've always been against, is the idea of mass producing things. It's not about the money, it's about quality and the passion and pride that goes into it. Money is just a byproduct of that.
So with the Attar store, I'm getting a very progressive sense of where what you are, and you are coming across as a very progressive business. Where do you see yourself taking this to? What's the end goal?
I mean, I think the end goal is really to have this as something that it provides me with a sense of satisfaction. I don't want it to feel like a job. It's basically what I do in my downtime. It's something that I use to escape from my actual day job. And it's something that I want to be able to keep doing small batches, a bit like how we see the likes of Chiara Zen and Dr. Incense. I don't think that's their 9-to-5 job, but it's something that it's a passion that they're able to share with the world. And I think that's the same idea. It's just really time dependent. I'm not interested in making a mass sort of multi-million business. I'm trying to just keep it something that's, keep it humble as its roots are, and just keep it something that's manageable for myself.
But if the opportunity came, or if the situation arose that you could potentially take this forward to be your full-time profession, would that be something you'd be interested in, or would you have to push back and be very firm with yourself?
I think I'd push back, because when working with other people have other ideas, and that's why to this day I haven't accepted any investment or any offers. People have different ideas and different views and different ethics about how they would approach things. Some people might see the money as the end goal, and they're willing to do anything that it takes to get there. And that means really sacrificing and going against your own principles, which is something I wouldn't want to do. I'd never work with diluted wood. I wouldn't touch an wood that was diluted. Same goes for sandalwood. I wouldn't cut corners with any of my products at all. If there was any whiff of something being wrong about a batch, the whole thing goes. We don't cut corners. You're trying to establish a good reputation, and a reputation is something that takes 10 years to build and 10 seconds to lose.
Definitely. Well, yeah, basically, I just really wanted to say, obviously, I've really, really enjoyed the samples that I've tried today. I think they're absolutely outstanding. You're doing some really, really good stuff there. Is there any that that are particularly close to your heart? I know it's like asking someone who their favourite child is. I get that, but I'm going to put you on the spot and say, is there one that you really, really love?
Yeah, I think I like the Cambodia Cola a lot. I wish I'd actually been able to buy more of it. Sadly, it's run out. I think that's probably one of the best oils I've ever, sort of sent out or even had myself. I've smelt some Oricent oils and some Insard oils and oils from other vendors, but I think that really is a nice oil, and I think anybody that has it should be quite pleased of owning that, because I myself don't have much of it. Maybe I have 1 gram for myself, but I'm looking forward to bringing the success, and I hope it is quite similar.
Well, it's got a lot to live up to. No pressure.
I like the consistency of the oil. I like the color of it, and I was quite pleased with the sort of artistic work that I did with it. If the image on the website, I've got that cola effect, the splash. I was quite happy to work with that and to license that image as well. Of course, I've sent some wood down as well. Wood's a big passion of mine as well. I was quite pleased with the Cambodian, the wild Thai woods that I've had recently, and the Vietnamese.
My pronunciation is going to be appalling again, so please forgive me. But the Khao Yai wood.
The Khao Yai, yeah, I'm not Thai myself, but yeah, it's a wild wood from Khao Yai jungle, so it's quite rare. I think Al Hashmi offered a batch of it maybe a couple of years ago. I actually have some of that as well. I've not seen any other vendors offer wood from there recently. Most of the Thai wood that does come out tends to be organic, so it is quite rare to have a wood from Thailand that is wild. It is something that's sort of dying out, and the same goes for Cambodia as well. It's quite rare to have wild wood from Cambodia or even Vietnam. In those countries, you're seeing the supply has been dwindling nowadays. I think we see more and more batches coming from Indonesia and Malaysia than anything else that are wild.
And you obviously, I'm assuming, end your day with a good burning session at home.
I haven't actually been burning wood recently. I used to burn wood maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Somebody's borrowed my burner actually.
All right.
So I've been mostly coal burning and incense. I've been burning incense sticks. So incense sticks, I've launched a few in the past, and I'm currently sourcing some more. So I'm hoping to move towards Keenam incense sticks. So it is a big goal. You don't want to again buy mass-produced items. You want to work with the artisan who's making them, who's producing them, to produce something that is unique and special, something that doesn't come around a lot. So I was looking at producing Hong Kong agarwood sticks. So Hong Kong agarwood, a lot of people don't know, has existed historically, and it's difficult to find wood from there, but of course the powders are available with the right contacts. So it's something that I've been looking at moving more into is incense sticks. It's something that isn't appreciated as much, and it's something that is quite mass produced generally. I think a lot of people, we have cheap incense sticks that maybe cost about 5 or 10 pence. It's really about pushing our current customer base and current market towards artisanal incense sticks, and it's something that I've got a lot of learning to do myself as well.
Well, this is it. When you're getting more heavily involved in something, you need to make sure, as you know well, your knowledge is on point. because you're going to be absorbing from other people,
Mhm.
and you need to make sure that the other people are giving you what you need to know.
Indeed. Yeah. So with the Oud as well, I mean, it takes hours of reading every day. The likes of, I think of Malik, for example, has a very wide knowledge of genetics and Oud genetics as well. I've seen some posts there, and to explore a niche and to then report on its history, it takes hours and hours of reading. You can't just jump into something. You can't jump into spray-based perfumes or candles, because cutting those corners, it does show up in your products. It does show up when you have customers that know more about it than you do. So it is quite important to research something and to plan well and to plan ahead before you do come to launch it and before you do come to source it.
That's absolutely fair. Listen, Hamza, I want to say thank you very much for your time.
Mhm.
I've absolutely, really enjoyed the oils phenomenally. They were really, really good stuff. And obviously, you're spending your time with us today has been a great joy for us. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And what I'll do is I will link you to reviews of your oils when I've had a chance to spend some more time with them. And obviously, I'll put the reviews out. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you for your time, and thank you for the nice comments. Thank you very much, and thank you for being part of the OudFest.
The products have been absolutely fantastic. I've been blown away by the quality today. It's been awesome. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you.
Cheers, buddy.
Bye.